My child from hearing expletives on television is idiotic.
He's going to hear them.
I know.
They're going to hear them. They hear them everywhere because it's everywhere. The only thing you can teach him is when it's appropriate to use a certain word and when it isn't.
Proper usage is what I'm trying to work on with him. And, I'm not trying to, cover his ears when there's cursing in movies anymore.
Well, are we talking about the older one or the younger one?
The older one.
Okay.
Max gets, as a 7-year-old, is still in my protective custody.
The problem is when there's an older one and a younger one, the younger one just picks it up from the older one.
Yep.
That's why Ben, when we were walking to the car the other day and he forgot his mask, he just looks down at the ground and he goes, "Motherfucker." The kid's 10 years old. Goes back in to get his mask. I'm like, what am I going to do about that?
It's sort of and then the sex talk too. That's starting to be, they're curious about that now. So I've got myself in a position where he's comfortable asking me questions, which is what I wanted.
That's good. I think
so. If there's a joke on a movie or something, a reference he doesn't get, he'll look at me and goes, "What does that mean?"
I think my kids are eunuchs. They don't talk about sex very much.
Noah is certainly not a eunuch. He's full-blooded.
I'm going to nail that fucking mic stand to the ground.
This one? Shit. It's not doing right.
No, it's not doing right.
I hate boom mics. I mean, I love them and I hate them.
What else would you use? You'd have to sit at the table.
I want one of those lapel mics like
those things are
Dan
garbage.
Rather used to have.
And we're back.
Welcome to Recovery in the Middle Ages, the podcast about two middle-aged suburban dads and their pursuit of life, love, and recovery. I'm Nat.
And I'm Mike.
And do we have a show for them?
Boy, do we have a show for you guys today.
Today on RMA, we celebrate graduation from college after a long, tumultuous road. A fine example of persistence and hard work. And we discuss the book and program Recovery Dharma on a very special Bachelorette edition of RMA.
You just crack yourself up.
I'm laughing because I didn't write Bachelorette. I actually typed Baccalaureate, and it must have autocorrected. And so now I'm live reading it.
Siri is great.
And fucking Siri, man.
So, guys, you should visit us at middleagesrecovery.com, which is soon to be the new improved middleagesrecovery.com. That website is a work in progress.
It's pretty improved.
Sometimes it's more progressive than others.
We're working on it.
We're working on it.
Because we have a lot going on. We're very excited.
Yeah. More of you are listening to us talk, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, and welcome to all the new listeners. I just want to,
where'd you come from?
What is this? Why are you?
I mean, I'm good. Why are you here? But congratulations for finding the best spot.
Yeah, we're very excited. And as you know, you can find us at middleagesrecovery.com, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, and Twitter.
Amazon?
Yes, Amazon Audible. And if you go to Amazon though and search for our podcast, we're available.
No
through
shit.
Audible.
Wow.
Yep.
That's great. Join the discussion on our exclusive and private Facebook group. If you need to talk, don't hesitate to reach out to us on social media.
What about great reviews?
They will be read on the show. Open your Apple Podcast app, search for our show, click the Drunk Monk, scroll down to where it says reviews, and write a review. Give us 5 stars and tell us how much you love us.
New merch is available. Go to our awesome new website that's under construction and click the shopping cart. It's that
of course,
easy.
The part where we take your money is working fine.
Yes. So it's that easy to support your favorite show. You just click on, we only have one shirt currently.
That's it. Even though it's listed 5 times on the website.
Well, that's part of, it's a design element. If you only have one, it doesn't look right. So that's what Utpal told me. He's like, you can't have just one the way.
Right.
The way.
You have to have 5 identical shirts to click on.
Well, let's hope they all sell. And which reminds me, I wanted to say, because this is merch related, I reached out to the incomparable Jeff D, who does our merch, and I was like, I got this exciting idea. We got to do a new shirt, and I have this design idea. And he writes me back, oh, yeah, that's great. I'll work on that. He's like, I just got married. And
good. Congratulations, Jeff.
Congratulations. I mean, you are taking a huge step. And
take a couple days for the honeymoon and then get back to us on the
That's
shirts.
right. We need you back to work immediately. You'll still get your usual pay. You know,
right.
Your checks will not be interrupted during your honeymoon. So, congratulations, Jeff, and I'm very excited to push this thing to the next level here. And congratulations to you, and good luck.
And your wife, probably.
Yeah.
Congratulations to her as well.
And congratulations to your wife.
So if you guys want to share your stories with us, we have a way for you to do that also on our website. Just go down to the middleagesrecovery.com, and there's a Your Story form. Fill it out, and we will read your review.
We will?
On the air. Have we gotten any recently?
Oh, yeah, we did.
Did we?
Oh, sure. We get lots of those.
I mean, we read the most recent one last week, didn't we? Or are you punching up another one?
Yeah, so here's the latest one we got.
So we do this on the fly.
Yeah, this just came in.
Did it?
Yeah, it says, it's from Gordon. Tell us your story. Hello, the ultimate smashing machine, grinding coffee beans, nuts, and spices in seconds. 50% off for the next 24 hours only. And free worldwide shipping for a limited time. Order here.
Thank you, Gordon.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate that.
So that was one of our fans. They're very excited about some product he's pushing. Oh, here's one. I'll read one more. This is another story. His name, Pasquale. This came through on April 27th.
Okay.
It says, hi. Our medical grade toenail clippers is the safest and specially recommended
Wow.
for those with troubles with winding nails. What is hard nails, two nails, nail cracks, deep nails, thickened nails, etc.
Who knew that was a problem?
Thank you, Pasquale.
You know what? Somewhere out there, there's a need that can be filled by anybody. What did Pasquale do? Wake up one morning and go, you know what the world needs? It needs a winding toenail clipper.
Yeah. I mean,
let's make one of those and then spam the fucking internet.
I think the best part about the Your Story form is that we're getting all these new product ideas. These are things we could branded
RMA winding toenail clippers.
So tell us your story.
Addicts don't have the best of hygiene, so maybe that is not a bad idea.
Well, getting them to care about their winding toenails.
Yeah.
Wait, is the clipper winding or is the toenail winding?
You'll have to click on the link to find out.
Okay. So that is Tell Us Your Story for now.
Right. Hopefully we'll have something of more substance to read.
So this weekend, beside my graduation, which we can get to in a minute,
we will.
We had Mother's Day.
We did,
and we always do a review of these holidays because it's one of those things that when I got sober and Mike got sober, one of the big problems we thought was, oh no, how am I going to get through these holidays without drinking or around other people that are drinking? How can we still have fun? So, I mean, what did you do that wasn't getting
Mother's
wasted?
Day was always so much fun. We had a great Mother's Day this year. My wife, to her credit, went out and found something that she wanted to do that was really cool. Axe throwing. Have you heard of this new trend that's sweeping the nation?
I only heard about it because you mentioned it for a Cub Scout thing, maybe. We were talking about that. And I'm like, why are you talking? He goes, yeah. So
there are these places that you can go to, and on Long Island, of course, it's in an industrial park, and you go in and you take an elevator up to the second floor, and then there's a nice reception desk with people that give you your axe. What do they call them? Oh God, I should have wrote that down. The person that does all things axe related with
what's
you.
the word for an axe thrower? Axomaniac?
No, this is like the axe. There was a pun.
Axelrod Kennelly.
To my great shame, I've forgotten. So you go in there, and it was myself and my wife and my mother-in-law and her boyfriend / fiance. I'm not sure what to call this guy. They've been together for years. His name is Tony. He's a Vietnam vet, very hard, crusty ex-gym teacher, retired. Every Mother's Day, without fail, for the last 10 years, we wish each other a happy Mother's Day. And he chuckles and he goes, "Ya mother." Like that.
That's really
so
good.
every year. So I know it's coming.
It's
I'm waiting for it. So anyway, we go to this place and they take us into a room. Oh, and my kids, of course.
Your kids came?
All three of them. Because throwing an axe is something that even the kids can get behind.
Everybody can get behind throwing axes.
So you go in this room, and then they project on a wood target. They project a target.
Oh,
right,
cool.
with like a small section and then big, and it's sort of like playing darts. You throw the axe. They show you how to throw the axe. You throw the axe and whack, gets in there, and then you score for that.
They teach you,
they do. They teach you. I used the two-hand over the head method, like the tomahawk. And these things are really sharp. They're like hatchets, but they're super sharp.
Did you cut a can like on those television programs for Ginsu knives?
I could have.
Yeah.
I could have, but
right through a can.
Right. So the hand can be used like a knife, but this method doesn't work with a tomato. I had to do that. And so we had a great afternoon just hurling axes down the thing. And even my 16-year-old was, he was asked later if he had a good time. Yeah, so, that
That's
was
great.
a win. And, my wife is a genius for stitching that all together. It was fantastic. We all had a good time.
Yeah, that's great. And it
right.
wasn't a drink party.
Well, for perhaps obvious reasons, no alcohol is served at the axe throwing venue. You can get wings, but
no booze.
No booze. So it was an incredibly wholesome yet violent activity.
I love this idea. I've come around to like shooting guns at target ranges and things
that's fun.
like that.
That's awesome.
Well, yeah.
Maybe not for Mother's Day.
Well, why not? If you're throwing axes,
yeah.
take mom to a shooting range.
Well, maybe next year.
What
about you? Wait, you know what was nice about this? And I'll just finish this off. And it's nothing against my mother-in-law, who, by the way, was on this show.
That's right.
If you go back early,
she
because she worked in the methadone maintenance program for years in Suffolk County.
To hear her, go back to and find that
it's
on
like
the
episode
early
4 or something like
she's
that.
great.
Yeah. But sometimes these holidays can go a little long, is all I'm saying, right? I mean, like but by the time you sit down and you have the lunch and dinner and you go walk around and all that stuff, this was like you show up, you do it for an hour, you hug in the parking lot, you're done, and then the rest of the day is yours to enjoy as you see fit. So that was also nice. I mean,
yeah, that's always the benefit too. Like we used to go out for Mother's Day. Pre-COVID, we would go to the Miller Ridge Inn Carriage House or whatever it is, and it's like $75 a person, and it's
which also happens to be the average age of the patrons.
It is. But it was very nice. But then you always have the awkward thing, like, okay, who's paying for this? For one,
right.
And there's always one guy that always pays for everything because they're the richest, and everybody knows it, and everyone kind of looks at them. I'm not going to say who that is in our group, but. That always goes on, and it's always awkward, but everyone always has a good time, and then you go there and you leave. Now, post-COVID, we didn't do that. We may next time, though, because the CDC has released, new information that, okay, now if you're vaccinated, you pretty much don't have to wear a mask anywhere if you're vaccinated, except for like hospitals and planes. Mm-hmm. So that just came out, and that's great news. But when we had people over our house, and so it's not quite so easy to kick people out of your house. Like
no,
when
they tend to linger,
it's
especially if there's food.
Yeah, yes. So we're sure to not have too much food. But my parents came over, and they finally emerged from their cocoon. They've been vaccinated.
Have they been hiding?
They have
from COVID. Yes,
they have, and they survived. They're turning 78, and they're in great shape. They do a lot of exercise and. They're very on top of things.
Your father keeps showing up as a potential Facebook buddy of mine.
You should. I don't think he knows how to work the Facebook machine. But
he's got a great picture of him. He looks like they're suave and
Yes. Harold is very suave.
Yeah. Oh, your mother too. Actually, both of them keep popping up.
They're a power couple. Yeah, they met in high school. That's the best part. Newfield High School. Yeah. Can you believe that? And but my parents came over, and my mother-in-law, and I said Lua because that's how we say it in Long Island.
That's true.
Mother-in-law. And we had bagels and lox. And,
did you use cream cheese this time or no?
No, I never. I hate cream cheese. It's disgusting.
Or butter.
No butter.
No butter. No cream cheese. Just
lox,
fish, raw fish,
and
on a dry bagel.
Smoked fish with smoked whitefish salad, toasted bagel. I'm telling you, I'll make you one.
It sounds like biting into sawdust.
No, it's my dream. I love it.
Whatever.
And then I ran 2 miles.
Yeah,
and
you're really getting some miles under the belt there, buddy.
I feel like I'm getting somewhere. Most people, if you
you are. You're getting around the block a few times.
I am, and I've been sharing my my running because Mike is a big runner, and I want validation from my running peers.
Right.
I need to know. So it may seem like overkill that I keep posting my running stuff on Facebook,
always,
but
be encouraging.
I need that validation. That's the kind of guy I am. I need a pat on the back. I need to be told I'm good.
That's what Strava exists for.
I love it.
It's for bragging and ego stroking.
Exactly. And I'm not too macho to admit I need that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm remembering this. incorrectly. It was my parents who came over, and then later on, my wife went out with her mother and sister for dinner. So,
that's nice.
Yeah, that's what happened, and I guess it was just my parents then. I'm having trouble remembering now, but and then listen, I graduated.
Yay, that's awesome, dude.
So after, let's see, I started going to college in 1996, and here I am today.
Oh, wait, shit.
Is that the right one? With a Bachelor of Arts in English Literature. That's the president's one, man.
Shit.
That's the Hail to the Chief, I think. There it is.
There you go.
I'd like to thank everybody for supporting me these last 25 years that I've been attending college for my undergraduate degree. I started out as a music ed major with a concentration in classical guitar. 4 years later, I switched to English and then moved back home, transferred my credits, and 20 years later, here I am, a Bachelor of English Literature. And it's very, very satisfying to finally complete this. I can't even describe to you how much better I feel, the relief that I feel. And I know some people will say, what is the point of that? Why would you do that? You have your own business. You even if you didn't have your own business, I have enough career credentials to get a job anywhere in marketing. What does this degree do for you? And my answer is it does everything for me. It's everything I've always wanted. I wanted to achieve that, level of success by feeling validated by an organization. It's important to my family. It's important to me, and it's going to be important to my kids. And that's sort of the point. So thank you for all your support. So the question is, what the hell do I do next?
Well, there's tons of stuff you can do.
I feel like I scratched a soul itch. I wanted to say that. I came up with that. I thought that would sound good. But
you texted that to me yesterday.
I thought that was brilliant. And the other thing I came up with that was really brilliant, was instead of congratulations, congratulations. Right? Don't you? I've never heard that before.
You cannot have been the first one to come up with that.
But doesn't it?
I hate to break. It's great. It really fits.
If you guys could just write me congratulations on our Facebook group, that would be great. In fact,
Nat may post a picture of himself in his outfit. His cap and gown.
Yeah, join the discussion on our private Facebook group. If you need to talk, don't hesitate to reach out. We forgot to read this in the housekeeping. And it's Middle Ages Recovery, or Recovery in the Middle Ages on Facebook, and find our group. And then you can say congratulations to me. Yeah. So what do I do next? I don't know.
I remember, because my trajectory through the college experience was similar to yours, although removed by a quarter century or so.
Yeah, you didn't do it straight through like my brother.
I totally failed out of college when I went there and cost my parents a lot of money. I spent 2 years in the Bronx.
What year did you get into
smoking crack?
What year was it? Admission?
85.
Gotcha. Okay.
I was gone by 87, and it wasn't until during the time between 87 and 93 when I really got a period of sobriety and I started, really drilling down and getting serious about it again. I did a lot of false starts. So I went to probably every college within an accessible subway ride or bus ride of where I was living in the Bronx. But I would go for like half a semester and then I would just leave, So
There's
I left
a lot of schools around there.
Trail of 0.0, semesters behind me. And I was paying for this all myself.
Which is crazy.
So eventually I realized, why am I doing this to myself? So I just stopped going. I figured I could save the money.
There you go.
Then in 93 or 92, when I kind of sobered up for a stretch there, I really started getting serious about it. And that's when I went at night and went to work during the day. And I was working out here on Long Island and driving to Queens College at night.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I went to Nassau for a while, but that's a whole other thing. But and it wasn't a clean sail through either. Like I remember one night when I lived in Williamsburg, I'd spent the entire night, I was out at the corner bar snorting Coke off the bar with the bartender. He'd lock the door, and it was like,
why does that sound
6 a.m.
good to me for some reason? I don't know. I got one of those.
It was good at the time.
It sounds great, but it's awful.
But I would take this Saturday class because they offered a class on Saturday, and the teacher was a former controller for the city of New York.
Wow.
Yeah, he was good. And I just decided that next morning that I would just roll out and go to Queens College and take the class and sit through the class. And I got there and I was still high.
At Queens College?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about going there, actually.
Well,
for a master's.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it there. But anyway, so I roll into class. It's, 8 o'clock in the morning. I've been up all night. I must have stank of booze, and I was very twitchy. And I sat in the middle of the classroom, and after about 20 minutes, I realized I'm not sitting here for 3 hours. There is no way. So I got up in the, no breaker. I just got up and left.
And those are some of the worst. I mean, I've done that, where you're partying all night and you go to work or go to a class and you're just clenching your teeth.
Yeah.
And if you're lucky, you got a bag with you that you can hit in the bathroom.
No, that's the worst of it is I was done.
Yeah.
And I was coming down off the coke and the booze and everything else.
There's nothing. It's just you can't look. And then someone will come up to you to like a meeting or ask about a job or something you're doing or in class. They call on you and you're just not there. And you can see it in their eyes and you don't, and you're also like imagining what they're thinking too, and it's always like they know.
But most people wouldn't think at 8 o'clock in the morning, like if I'm sitting in the middle of a class on how the government works, like that I'd be flying on blow and, and booze at 8 o'clock. But so I don't know. I didn't do that very often. I actually was very serious about it because again, I was paying for it. You know? But still, it took if you count the time from when I originally started college in '85. With fits and starts, it took 13 years for me to get my undergraduate degree. And
How many?
13.
That's it?
So I graduated in 1997, and then I went immediately to law school in 98 because I knew if I gave myself too much time in between, I would lose my mojo.
Yeah, and that's the advice I'm getting now is don't take too much time deciding what to do. I mean, and I'm not convinced I need to get a master's to be happy with my career in my life. But I don't know. Like I could get an MSW and do social work. I could set up a private practice. There's a CCAR, like our friend Recovery Mike has that certification and he works in recovery. There's a KSAC in New York, which is a drug counselor. It's very difficult to get that.
Some of that stuff will take a very long time, and there's this whole because I looked into this clinical component to it, which is why I kind of shied away from it myself. But
yeah, I mean, I think you and I have talked about doing this Naked Mind coaching certification,
right?
Because we both really believe in that program, and in order to bring more help to our listeners, I feel like it could do a lot for us and you guys if we had a little more. A better handle on things like that. So,
well, which reminds me, speaking of that, better training might lead us to avoid the type of situation that happened this week when last week we reviewed the documentary One Little Pill, and Nat, you may recall, tweeted to the maker of the documentary, Claudia Christian, who is also extremely well known for her role in Babylon 5.
And she's very gracious.
Very gracious. But she tweets Nat back during the week. Apparently she listened to the show and was very, gracious is the right word because she was like...
you could tell she's not happy with her.
Well, why don't can you pull that up and read it? I know that this isn't on the outline, but I feel compelled to mention it because listen, a little self-flagellation is a good thing.
I'm all about self-flagellation. So this is Claudia Christian, and I'm really just thank you for writing us back. She wrote. That was.
Are you an English major?
I was an
English bachelor.
Okay, she says, someday I will come on to clarify the information on TSM. That's the Sinclair method. You got some right, but a lot incorrect, especially around taking it in the morning with abstinence dosage, etc.
I wasn't exactly sure what she meant by that, but
all good. Let's just get the right info to people. I'll check when I have some time to schedule. And thank you. And yes, and I think what you're talking about, Claudia, is that we were conflating or comparing other uses of naltrexone to the Sinclair method. So I wasn't saying, if I understand you correctly, that the Sinclair method involves you taking it in the morning. What I was trying to communicate was that naltrexone is used... Well, it was used by me through my doctor, how it's indicated, as a daily thing. You take it in the morning each and every day to curb your cravings. And that's the way it's traditionally used. So to clear it to everybody, that's not the Sinclair method. That's how I was prescribed it. And so I was kind of just trying to point out how it's different from the way it's traditionally prescribed. But anyway, Claudia said she might be able to come on, and we're happy to do that. And I would look forward to that. I think that'd be awesome.
Yes, and
we're not trying to be dicks here at all. Like,
no.
I love that documentary, and I think it's really important information, and it's another tool that people don't have, like, or don't know about. So
being dicks is part of our shtick.
Yeah, we joke, but it really is the Sinclair method. So
I'm starting to think, though, Nat, that maybe the best way to get guests on the show is to
offend them,
is to totally misrepresent what they stand for, offend them, and then invite them on to clarify the record.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. So, like, who do we want to have on the most? Let's think of a way to misrepresent like what they stand for, so they can come on.
I mean, I apologize for the Babylon 5 shot. I mean, I never watched the show.
It's just funny to see that in the someone's credits when they're talking. You're talking about like addiction and stuff. It's just so random.
I feel like it was one of those shows that tried to sort of build on the reboot of Battlestar Galactica, maybe.
Well, she's not a writer on it.
Yeah, I know, which is why, I...
Look, it made us giggle. We
all take work. We take work that we can find. That's it. All good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, sorry.
I know
that was a tangent I didn't expect to go on.
That was tangential. Well, the next thing I wrote, it's just something that came to me while I was doing dishes this morning. And what I wrote here, this is like hours before we came on. I said, this is a thought I had. I don't want to be around people who think there is nothing left to improve about themselves.
Yeah, man.
Those that think they have gone as far as they can, miserable as they are, make no effort or have any interest in improving their lives. I don't have the energy to bring them along for the ride.
Because those people will
they
latch onto you, and it's like putting a weight on you, and they take you down.
And I'm not saying I run into a lot of these people, but they pop up in my life, and they're people I've known, they're people I've just met. And, it's a drag, man. And like anybody who, no matter how old you are, no matter how many degrees you have or what your job is, if you ever get to a point where you're like, I've gone as far as I can go, and this is what it is, and it sucks, and this is just how it is. And like, there's always room for improvement. If you don't think you need to improve on something, you're not being self-reflective enough.
Yeah, there's
period.
You can improve on everything, but it doesn't always have to be career related. I mean, it can be in other aspects of your life.
100%.
Because there's different parts of your brain that need to be developed in different ways.
Yeah, just
creativity
and the more I get going with my life, the more I'm like, okay, now I'm exercising, now I'm dieting, and then I'm trying to really build on all the good stuff. You start to see the people who are just kind of watching,
right?
And
they resent it sometimes.
Yes.
They get angry at you.
And
it's crazy.
I don't know. And when I was reading the Recovery Dharma, which we're talking about today, it talks a lot about how we should be happy for other people's success, no matter who that person is and no matter what it is that they're successful with.
Right.
It's this idea of we're all happy for each other and trying to support each other. And I just want to be around people like that. That's what I want in my life. That's what I'm trying to do. And people like that make me happy. And that was just a kind of epiphany I had.
That's great, man. I'm trying to find Kumbaya, but I can't.
Kumbaya.
But, I mean, listen, I'm a bit of a cynic by nature. I think you can't spend so many years
cynical is one thing. I mean, but doing things to improve your life, whatever that is.
I mean, my feeling is this. I mean, belief in reincarnation notwithstanding, I mean, we're here for a very short period of time. And, what's the old expression? They never buried anybody whose last words were, gee, I wish I spent more time at the office, or I wish I spent more time,
And none of us is getting out of here alive.
That's it. So, it's a finite amount of time. So sometimes I regret the time that I spent sitting in bars and wasting the hours away,
Me fucking too, man.
But
I am constantly, and this is actually turning into a problem, I think, for me in some ways. I'm in at that, making up for lost time. Like, now that I'm clear-headed finally and I have some energy in my life, I'm like,
you just want to go out and do everything.
As you can tell.
You want to snort the world.
I'm like the Tasmanian devil, you know what I mean? I want everything done. I want to improve this, improve that. I want to play better chess. I want to be better exercising. I want to read more books. And a lot of that is the making up for lost time thing, because I lost so much time. I lost basically my 30s. Even though miraculously I had 2 children and bought a home.
I mean, you were still living a life,
But I hated my life. Yeah, I hated myself every morning.
Of that, you can't think of that as time wasted, though. Yeah. You really can't, because it's just part of the tapestry of your life.
I don't know. I feel like I'm enjoying my life finally, and I'm like, wow, where was this?
But think about people who never had that experience of that low.
Right.
So they've been kind of going along at an even keel for their whole lives. It's like you and I, it's like a second life.
Yeah.
It's like a open curtain and let's go,
That's it, man. I think that's it completely.
So I don't think you have that experience if you don't have some struggles. I mean, everybody has struggles, right? But some
right. It's what you do with it and
right.
how you reflect upon it. And I think your wife and my wife both were a little annoyed. They had something to say about us rambling too much at the opening of the show. And
she was sort of like, Erin was like,
get to the point.
Yeah, because she makes it through a lot of the rambling, but she's like, I don't know, what did you talk about this week? Because I couldn't make it through your, stuff.
Well,
which is fine,
Well, why don't we just cover one more thing because we have a lot to discuss on recovery, Dharma. Last week on the show, you mentioned a phrase, toxic positivity.
Yeah.
And I wanted to learn more.
That came up. Actually, Erin Moore brought it up. It was sort of a passing comment that she made when she was talking about the coming out of the pandemic.
Little nugget of wisdom from.
And I was like,
Erin.
Toxic positivity, which I guess it's the belief that no matter how shitty the situation is, you should maintain a positive mindset. The old good vibes only approach. I mean. I think
it's the Pollyanna.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think people have different baseline levels of positivity. So,
well, I like what it says. Like when you say, "Why is it harmful?" Rather than being able to share authentic human emotions and gain unconditional support, people find their feelings dismissed, ignored, or outright invalidated. And I've experienced that too, being toxically positive, like with my wife or my son, when they're feeling down or having a bad day.
Right.
And then I try and just be like, oh, everything will be fine. And don't worry. And
just stay positive.
At least you're not dead.
Look on the bright side.
Yeah, exactly. And some of that is great. But
everything happens for a reason.
Right. But it's important to validate people's feelings.
Happiness is a choice.
That's right. Isn't it? It's a good one. But validating your loved one's feelings and your friends and acknowledging that maybe there isn't something you can say to fix this. And that's okay.
I was so interested in this because I feel that I do this to people sometimes. Like because I'm typically a pretty positive person and I tend to try to see the bright side in everything.
Yeah, me too.
But that doesn't mean I should force other people to see the bright side in their shitty situations all the time either. So I have to be mindful of that.
It's better to just be supportive, and I'm getting better at that with my wife and my kids and my family and people who it's because a lot of people. Some of my friends who visit me at the shop, like I'm like Lucy with the from Peanuts with the advice booth. Like I have regulars that come to my store and they don't ever buy anything, but they talk to me about their life. And I don't know if they're directly requesting it, but sometimes I'm not in the mood for it. But I'm happy to be a person who can be understanding and lend a sympathetic ear. And sometimes I find it's best to just say, yeah, man, that does suck.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for sharing. And I'm happy to be an ear, a sympathetic ear, and then people aren't always looking for a solution; they just want you to commiserate.
Right?
Maybe
women say that a lot.
What?
When you try to provide them with a solution.
Yeah, they don't want a solution. They just want you to say, "Yes, that woman at work is trying to destroy you, and I fucking hate her too. She's trying to destroy me."
Well, men are from
Mars
and women are from Venus. That whole thing. But the last point on that is, not being toxically positive all the time is also good for you and me, because I find like if I'm trying to overwhelm someone else's negativity with my positivity and they don't give me positivity back, I get angry. And then I'm like, well, now I'm angry.
Right.
What's the fucking point of that? So good thing to keep an eye out for. But the thing that stuck in my head when Erin was talking about this was the old AA idea of fake it till you make it, right? And how that sort of dovetails in with toxic positivity, because really if you're just pretending to be in a state that you're not in, isn't that the same thing as toxic positivity? Or am I just conflating two things that are dissimilar?
I think that fake it till you make it thing can work for a short period of time when you first come in and you don't buy into any of that shit that they're telling you. Mm-hmm. That's when they want you to just fake it for a few weeks. What it does is if you're faking it, it'll make you, or supposedly, that means you'll go and participate, even though in your head you're thinking this is bullshit and I don't want anything to do with this.
But eventually you'll come around.
Right. If you
So isn't happiness a choice then? Because then if you perceive happiness, then...
I believe happiness is a choice.
So then is there 100%. Such thing as toxic positivity?
I don't know. I've just learned that phrase today. So maybe we'll do a whole show on that. I love, this is a great topic.
We can get Erin back to talk about toxic positivity.
Erin, if you're out there.
She seems to know things about toxic positivity that I do not.
We'll have her back. But I think now we can get to our main discussion.
Yeah.
We are reading a book called Recovery Dharma. Which
Buddhist, it's the Buddhist approach to recovery. It's by basically adopting a framework of Buddhism. It will help you in your recovery.
It's really interesting.
So Buddhism itself is interesting. So who is the Buddha? I guess would be a good place to start, right? Because Buddhism is based on the Buddha.
It's a guy. I forget his name. It's like
Prince Siddhartha.
Yeah, Siddhartha.
Gautama. He was an Indian prince who lived, I think, about 2000 BC, somewhere around there. I always get the dates screwed up.
I think it was 2400. But
2400? Seriously?
I'm remembering.
Okay. Maybe. Well, I was in the same century. Yeah. I mean, same.
He grew up rich, right? And he had everything he needed.
He had everything he needed. But, and his parents never wanted him to see any of the suffering and stuff in life, so they kept him inside the palace. But one day he decided to go out and see what was going on.
It's like Aladdin, where the princess goes out to see the people, and she meets the monkey in Aladdin. It's just like that.
Just like that. Okay. So he goes out of the palace, and he sees an old person, a sick person, and a dead person. And he realizes that things are not always as they seem, and that everyone is going to suffer and die, and there's always going to be sickness and so on. So he leaves his gilded palace. He leaves his family, his wife and his kids. And this is the part that I always have trouble getting my head around. Yeah. But he leaves and he becomes an ascetic. So basically a wandering monk, and he engages in all of these yogic practices of... what are you doing?
My pants are riding up. He's like a beat author of the 2400 BC.
Well, except he doesn't drink wine or drink coffee in cafes. Instead, he starves himself and meditates in contorted positions and all this stuff. Yeah. And but he doesn't really get anywhere. And then eventually he stops being an ascetic. He lies down on the bank of the river Ganges and accepts some porridge from a young girl that comes up to him, and he takes that, and then he realizes that extremes of asceticism or indulgence are not the way to live your life. You should develop something called the middle way, and that's neither being extreme in one way or the other. Then he goes and he sits under the Bodhi tree and meditates, and when the evening star rises, he realizes that he has an enlightenment experience, and he realizes that everything is... we're all the same. Everything is one, so on and so forth. And then he spends the rest of his career sharing that experience and teaching other people how
Meanwhile,
to
his kids are like, what the fuck happened to Dad? Can you imagine what a bitch his wife was that he completely just abandoned him?
He said he was only going for cigarettes.
Yes. He did not come back for pizza, and he went out and he started a religion. So... That's awful.
Yes, that is.
Extremely
awful. I have to get rid of that. Anyway, but so what he came up with was the structure of the Buddhist religion includes the Four Noble Truths.
Yes, very cool.
The first noble truth is that there is suffering, the existence of suffering, or dukkha, as it's called in the...
I love learning all these new words too. Dukkha. Dukkha is suffering?
Suffering.
Got it. That's like the three rings of marriage.
I mean, I've heard it translated as life is suffering, or the truth of the existence of suffering. But I mean, it's hard to deny that there is suffering in life, and suffering. The second noble truth is that suffering is due to desire, the desire to
like craving.
Have things. Also, the desire to have an independent ego exist. So that's a little heavy though. So let's skip that part for now. But craving and desire is what causes suffering. And the third noble truth is that suffering, there is a way to cease suffering. The truth of the cessation of suffering. And then the fourth noble truth is that you can end suffering by following something called the Eightfold Path.
Yes.
And there's lots of different things included in the Eightfold Path, like right action, right speech, right livelihood.
Wise thinking. I love that shit.
So, I mean, that's just like a thumbnail
good.
sketch of what Buddhism.
Yeah, and let me just say that I
religion.
never studied Buddhism, even though I did comparative theology like more than once in different classes and things like that. I don't remember like really studying Buddhism to a point that I just had an epiphany reading this new book, like. Buddhism, all the wise this and the noble that, and like all of the things that we were talking about, and suffering and craving and compassionate kindness and love and all of that. It feels like I'm like these are the things that I was already trying to make myself like be and to do in life. And this whole time I've been a Buddhist, basically philosophy wise, and now I'm only just realizing. I'm like, and this is like wow. I mean, I love this. I mean, and this isn't even, we're not even talking about the drug recovery part of this recovery Dharma, but just Buddhism in general, from what I'm just learning now, it really like goes along with what I feel already. I think it's great.
I think that's great that resonates inside you, because some people have a hard time.
Just the loving kindness, compassion, like it's all the stuff that we teach in Sunday school.
Right.
At church, that you love your enemy and you're happy for people no matter what. Like, and that's hard to do. That's a hard practice to not, but feel jealous and things like that.
It is. The difference, of course, between Buddhism and like Judeo-Christian religions is that there's no creator, or the existence of God or a creator is not mandatory.
Right, and that's why Buddhism can work for a Christian, is because it is a religion, but it's also a philosophy, and it's completely comports with just some of this basic Buddhist philosophy. Even meditating, as far as I'm concerned, as a deacon of the Presbyterian Church, it comports with my religious views, like completely. It does not, go against it or anything, and I think it's just a better way to be. It sounds to me like a healthy mental practice and spiritual practice.
Yeah, I've sort of internalized this philosophy my entire life. I mean, I've been meditating in one form or another since I was in high school. Now, granted, there were long stretches there when there was drinking and drug activity where meditation wasn't possible, because you do have to have sort of a clarity of mind to meditate. Otherwise, you're wasting your time, really. I remember there was times when I was drinking when I used to have a couple glasses of wine and think I could go then sit on the cushion and meditate, and that was just absurd, on its
Even
face.
after you were practiced at meditating? Because I've tried to meditate when I didn't know anything about meditating, and then I was drinking, and I'm like, I'm going to try to meditate.
I mean, I guess we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, because meditation is part of the program, and it's part of Buddhism in general.
That's the part of the book I got to, and I haven't been able to get past it because I'm always doing something. I couldn't stop and meditate.
Yeah,
I get halfway through the book.
But I mean, the whole idea of meditation is that you turn the light inwards, right? And you pay attention to what's going on in your mind and in your body, and that's very difficult to do, even if you have one or two glasses of wine in you, because your thinking is not clear. You can't really examine your own thinking.
Yeah, we were just talking about meditating last night on one of our conversations. And I've not been a meditator. It's not something I did in my life. It's something I always aspired to want to try to do.
Right.
But I actually did, like when this pandemic started and we got locked down, I was in recovery, still am, but I didn't have the option, as far as I saw it, to use or drink when everything around me was telling me to drink. Everything felt this anxiety that built up in me. And what I did, though, is, and even while everyone around us was, loading up on booze, and it was totally socially appropriate, and it was, everyone was doing it, I said to myself, that's not an option for me, but I have this anxiety and I have this feeling. I have to do something. And that's when I got the Headspace app, and I just forced myself. Like you were joking, like, what did you say? Shut up, I'm going to go meditate. But it's exactly what I did when I started to do it. If things got too hairy at home with the kids and the wife and everything,
right,
I would just be like, fuck this, I'm going to go meditate, literally. And then I would slam the door, lie down, pop in the earbuds, and I would be transported to just feeling better. So it's really magical to me. I haven't been doing it though lately. I need to get back to it.
Meditation is interesting. It's sometimes it can work that way, and then other times you sit down and it's just an incredibly frustrating experience. And what the Buddhists, any teacher that's ever taught me how to meditate would be is that's actually part of the practice. It's sitting with the frustration. It's sitting with the this isn't doing anything. I'm not getting anywhere. It's you basically are supposed to not have a goal while you're doing it. You're sitting there and you're just observing. You're observing what your body's doing. You're observing what your mind is doing.
Yeah.
So it's great if it ends up putting you in a state of bliss. But there's some people that have suffered from trauma. Some people that have really negative experience in PTSD. And if you start meditating and you start turning the lens inward, you start to see things that maybe you don't know how to deal with. Yeah. And that's, there have been some studies that have been done that have shown that meditation is not a calming thing for some people to do. So if you fit into that trauma, PTSD.
Well, but what about guided meditation? Like when I meditate, I have to use the guided. So got a guy from Headspace. He's like, hello, we're going to.
I mean, that's great. I've never guided meditation.
Really
I just.
It forces me into meditate land. But like, that would be different. Maybe because I have a bunch of trauma that comes up, but when I got that guy in my head, like, okay, now we're going to breathe in and you're going to be just like a cloud, and I have that in my head. It lets me focus on not focusing. So maybe that's like a hack for people who don't want to remember all the horrible shit that happened to them.
Well, and not to get too into the weeds with meditation, but there's so many different ways to practice it. Even in the Buddhist tradition, like certain sects of Zen Buddhists have you think about a unanswerable question, like what was your face before your parents were born, or what is the sound of one hand clapping is the most.
That's one hand clapping.
There you go. You've solved the koan. You are now an enlightened master. And then there's other schools like the Vipassana school where all you do is focus on your breathing in and out, in and out. And
breath work, they call it now. That's a trendy thing.
Is it?
Doing breath work. I've seen this on recovery houses.
But there's also yogic breath work, which is, you're supposed to breathe in through one nostril and breathe out the other.
How the hell do you do that if you're not snorting coke?
They call it pranayama practice. There's all different ways of practicing meditation. But what's interesting to me is this idea of sort of overlaying the structure of Buddhism on top of a recovery program.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think Buddhism is extremely useful in structuring your worldview so that you can see things that are happening to you with a level of clarity that you would not otherwise do so. And I think meditation helps you to develop that clarity of thinking.
They do that in AA
tying it into recovery. Like I'm just not sure where it all fits
prayer
together.
And meditation. When you're in the AA program, they're telling you,
And this program does say, we don't discourage you from participating in any other recovery program if you find it helpful. And go ahead and do it.
They have their own form of community that they talk about in the book, where there's other wise. They call them wise friends.
Wise Friends.
I love that.
Which is like a sponsor, but not. It's
but
more
like what we're doing, like
exactly
tandem sponsor.
And I don't know if that article is up on our Facebook, on our website yet, but I did write an article on the concept of tandem sponsoring that I sent to you the other day.
Shit, I don't know if I sent that to Utpal.
Well,
we'll get it up today.
We'll get that up.
Yeah, Utpal is working on the secure certificate.
But let's talk a little bit about the wise friend that they suggest that you develop a relationship with. I mean, I think from what I remember, because my notes, of course, are way too long to read, the whole idea of the wise friend, like there's two different kinds of wise friends, right? There's one who is just somebody you respect because of their innate knowledge and wisdom, and then there's somebody who's been through the recovery program and who has that set of tools in their toolbox. So I think from what I remember, they suggest forging relationships with both kinds of people, right?
Yeah, I love that, like the wise friends.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I think because it's so accurate, and it kind of thinking of it in those terms. I mean, you do it anyway when they tell you in AA, stick to the winners, whatever that means. But to come together with people who there's something about their program or their recovery that you respect or long for or want to learn more about or you can identify with. I mean, that's part of the recovery community, and I think it's put pretty succinctly there with this wise friends idea.
Here's what I meant. They recommend working with a mentor. Mm-hmm. Okay, and but they also say that that's not a formal position. No one is certified or authorized. They are just members of the community freely sharing their journey through the Four Truths and the Eightfold Path. Everyone decides for themselves if they want to collaborate with somebody else on their path, understanding that they must ultimately do the work of recovery themselves. And therein lies the big difference between something like Recovery Dharma and AA, is that this is very much a self-directed program.
Right. And that's Buddhism, right? Going into yourself, but it's seeking support, though. There. But they're not telling you that do it alone.
No. In fact, the three jewels of Buddhism are the Buddha, which can stand for the historical Buddha, or it could also stand for the idea of the awakened self that is in each one of us. That's why that old expression, if you see the Buddha on the road, kill him, because you don't want the historical Buddha to stand in the way of you recognizing your own Buddhism, your own enlightenment. So Buddha, Dharma, which is the teachings, and Sangha, which is the collection of people that together...
It's like the community.
Yeah, it's the community. So
Dharma is the truth also. Do they say Dharma means truth?
Yes.
And then Sangha is community.
Community. Yeah. So there's an AA Sangha, I guess, and there's a Recovery Dharma Sangha. And so there are meetings in Recovery Dharma. Like people get together, and at the end of the book, there's a structure for how to organize a meeting, how to run a meeting. You basically... a lot of it is shared meditation together. People will sit at the meeting and meditate together. And then there's sharing, which can take any form you like. I mean, the meeting it's structured more or less similar to any other 12-step meeting, but with the difference is that the program is the Buddhist worldview. It's not a big book,
Right. And in fact, we have a friend in the Dopey Nation named Jed who runs a Recovery Dharma weekly Zoom meeting. And I've reached out to him, and we're going to hopefully be able to get him on next week. I want him to sort of talk about how it works practically.
Right.
Like how is he? How are they using these in meetings, and what's his experience?
That's what I'd like to know, because the book is the book sets forth the philosophy and everything, but it does not really get into the particulars of how you would organize a meeting or how you would use this information in a positive way to affect your own recovery. But they indicate in the book that there are groups that have formed to support each other in writing inquiries or investigations of how their addictive behavior led to suffering. Which
craving.
Some approach it the same way as inventories in 12 steps, and some don't. The goal is not to dwell on past shame or trauma, but to turn towards the pain and confusion we have been running from and learn to meet it with kindness, forgiveness, and compassion.
Yeah, and I love the point. What I gleaned from the first half of the book, they talk about how they're basically trying to understand and treat addiction with this Buddhist philosophy. And one of the things they discuss is craving, and how craving is basically the negative extension of the wanting that we're trying to squash with Buddhism. This wanting, this coveting, this what I don't have, instead of focusing on the now. So that craving for what you don't have sort of perpetuates the addiction, which then destroys your life. And so through this Buddhist practice, you are moving away from this craving, this wanting. And then it's interesting. They're kind of tackling the craving, like as they call it in AA, the phenomena of craving. They're talking about a physical problem where you feel it. And we've all been there if you're an addict, that physical craving. But it really is a soul craving as well.
And the practice of meditation will bring that to your conscious awareness and make it easier to deal with.
Right, by naming it.
Because so much of what we do, we wander through life and everything is driven by our unconscious, right? We've talked about that on this show endlessly. But developing the awareness that you can actually see this operating inside your head. Because think about what you do when you go through your day. Half the people on this planet, more than half, they live in the past or they live in the future. They don't live in the present because, you can start thinking about something that may never happen, but write an entire script inside your head about how it's going to turn out, what's going to happen, get all agitated about it, get angry at people that have no idea that you've just written this story in your head.
Right.
And the whole idea of meditation and Buddhism is that you sit there and you sort of untangle this and you realize that, you shouldn't be doing that. There's no need to do that. You just bring everything back to the present moment and realize that that's
stuff that happened too. People, and myself included, and my wife too. Sometimes we'll have these discussions that something went wrong or happened or broke, and it will continue, understandably, to upset her long after anything can be done about it. So, once the thing has happened, spilt milk, right? What are you doing to yourself? By continuing to perpetuate this anxiety and anger about it, instead of, okay, what do we do now? And what can we control and fix right now? And so it's very difficult to separate yourself from that or worrying about the future. I did a lot of worrying about the future, still do, with this degree and all of the work I've been doing up to this in my signing the lease for my store and what's going to become of my life. And, and it was very hard for me to just say, right now, I'm okay. Right now, I'm okay. I'm not drinking. I'm not using. I'm happy. I'm healthy.
Yeah, or you can turn the lens back on yourself, to use the spilled milk analogy. You could look at that and say, God damn it, why do I always everything I touch I drop? My life is a mess. It's and you take this idea, you take this information cursed. And you run with it. Yeah, I'm cursed. Everything I do is fucked up. I can never get ahead in life. Da 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 da. And all of this is just a story you tell yourself. It has no external reality.
Right.
So when you sit there,
there's no
and
luck.
You meditate and you follow your breath, obviously things are going to come up because the brain. The best way I ever heard it described was your gallbladder secretes bile, because that's what it does to digest food. Your brain secretes thoughts because that's what it does. It thinks, right? So these thoughts are going to come, and the thoughts are going to come. There's no way you're going to be able to stop your brain from thinking. So in meditation, you're not trying to stop thinking. You're trying to, you're trying to watch the thinking happen and dispassionately, and get a sense of, that it's ultimately not real. It's not you. It's just this collection of thoughts and ideas and stuff stories that you write in your own head, and none of that stuff really exists.
Yeah, this reminds me of I studied Zen Buddhism just in a philosophy class in college. It was just a section of it, and the one thing that I remember from reading that Zen Buddhism book that we were studying was there was something called mind weeds. And it was part of learning how, when you're trying to, it was just sort of the practice of when you're meditating, the things that come up that distract you from your meditation practice, they call it mind weeds, and you're supposed to weed, because if you're gardening, you pull the weeds out. And so it was this practice of, okay, when one comes up, how do you, take it and weed it? And continue to do that until it's more clear and it becomes easier.
That's a good analogy, because eventually the space between the thoughts is going to grow longer, bigger and bigger, and then it's going to be
gardening.
Nice and chill.
So the Zen, I guess, I forget what book that was. I still have it somewhere.
I actually have read a lot of books on Zen in my life, and that analogy I've never heard. And
really?
That's really...
And it's the one I did read. And it's the thing that stuck out, yeah.
But the important thing to do is when these thoughts come up is not to judge them as good or bad, just sort of observe them and then go back to paying attention to your breath. Because once you start assigning value, then you're off on this little fantasy trip, and you can spend 20 minutes thinking about something.
And I love that part of Buddhism which is the not assigning good or bad value to things. It's just, it is.
Right.
And then you don't confuse yourself with this, is it good or is it bad type of thought, and where is it? So it's just kind of addressing each thing that comes up, thoughts, actions, people, as they are right that moment. And so that way of thinking and being, it definitely helps, I think, evolve a person. And I'm actually very excited to do a little more studying on Buddhism. I'm very interested in this. And I can't wait to get Jed on probably next week.
Yeah.
We're going to do a couple of parts on this book. And it won't just be on this book. I mean, I feel like we're really going to be more of a discussing Buddhism as a philosophy and a way of life that can aid in your recovery.
Love it.
I think I like that.
I mean, the compassion is such a big part of Buddhism also. And you get, some people have a hard time with compassion, but it kind of sneaks in the back door when you're
the latch is greased coming through the back.
Because when you're meditating with all these thoughts and you realize that, the thoughts are just, they're not really real, but what's behind it is this other entity. Everybody else is having that shared experience. So you're really no different from everybody else. It's easier to find compassion when you see commonalities between everything.
Yeah, I love it.
Anyhow,
I think we should wrap up part one for the week.
That's going to be part one.
So that's part one. And we are going to tune in next week. Hopefully we get Jed on to discuss the practical application in meetings and how and what Buddhism and Recovery Dharma, how it works for him and how it can work for you. And we will be right back after these words. There's definitely, I don't know who makes that mess, but nobody else uses it.
Well, it's you.
I know.
It's your bathroom and you're the only one that uses it.
I don't do anything extraordinary in that bathroom. I mean, it's just, but it seems it accumulates like gook. I don't know how it does it. I try and be careful.
Enjoying this, I'm sure.
I try to be careful. I don't. In any case, thanks for...
Nat, what time is it?
It is Recovery in the News. In the news, recovery in the news, recovery.
Someday I want to meet the musician who created that jingle. So I set Google alerts up for things like addiction, alcoholism, 12-step.
I forgot Week and Weird. Go on.
So I was, and I check them every day, right? So the other day I'm going through there and a headline caught my eye, and I will read the headline verbatim. Jesus Christ.
Verbatim. I hardly know him.
Liquor shops closure. Hide sanitizers. Provide tasty food to alcoholics. And I'm like, I gotta know what that article is about. So it's from something called sify.com, and I'm assuming this is some sort of Week and Weird thing from sci-fi.com, but it turns out it's a paper or something in a small area of India, which is somehow indexed to Google search terms or something. So Chennai, India, and I'm going to read the first paragraph to you all because I found it pretty funny. Feeding tasty food on time, every time, increasing the fluid intake, hiding sanitizer and other liquids containing alcohol, conversing in a gentle and understanding manner are what the family members of alcoholics should do to their loved ones when the liquor shops are closed for 2 weeks starting Monday, said an experienced counselor. Tasty food. In order to prevent the spread of coronavirus, the Tamil Nadu government has ordered closure of liquor shops for 2 weeks as part of a stringent lockdown measure. I might add that this is something that we couldn't seem to get our heads around here in the United States. We decided that our medical system was already too overwhelmed with COVID-19 patients, so we were not going to close the liquor stores because we did not want an influx of people who were detoxing to show up in the emergency rooms. India is less concerned with this and provides dubious information for people to follow. It is an opportunity for the family members of alcoholics to wean away their loved ones from this habit, but the family members have to handle it gently. Jacqueline David, senior counselor, told IANS, she said when an alcoholic is deprived of his drink, then he suffers from what is called withdrawal symptoms.
Oh, is that what it's called?
My goodness.
I was wondering.
The withdrawal symptoms are anger, shaking hands, heartburn, sensation, fits, hallucination, hearing voices in the ears, as opposed to elsewhere, sleeplessness, violent behavior, and others. According to her, to manage the withdrawal symptoms, an alcoholic should be fed properly at regular intervals with lots of vegetables, and his or her fluid intake should also be increased.
I've been telling people that forever.
Eat vegetables.
Eat your vegetables if you're withdrawing.
An alcoholic should be given lime juice with sugar and a dash of salt. One can also give other juice. The other steps that family members could take is to distract the alcoholic and keep his mind engaged, she said. I'm picturing like a dangerous puppy or a monkey or something. A hungry stomach will trigger the craving for liquor. You should also hide all liquids like sanitizers, aftershave lotion, and others containing alcohol from the reach of the alcoholic. I don't know, man. During the 2020 lockdown, 3 persons died after drinking paint varnish with water, and 2 persons lost their lives after consuming aftershave lotion with water. Not many realize that alcoholism is a mental and nervous disease requiring medical attention. It is not known about the plans of the government to handle the distressed alcoholics in providing detox medicine.
Yeah. Where are you, Recovery in the News is supposed to be stuff from like actual journalism. What is where are you grabbing?
Alcoholics have the habit of consuming in large quantities if there is stock rather than spreading it over several days. Meanwhile, long queues were seen outside of the liquor outlets in the state after the government announced closure of shops for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's funny. They talk about the hand sanitizer problem. There's actually an intervention episode. Look this up. Where the guy is addicted to hand sanitizer.
Like he's just licking it out of the bottle?
Well, they show you how he does it. He mixes a little water in it, shakes it up, and just drinks it straight up. And he gets addicted to it.
That's rubbing alcohol.
Yeah. So watch that episode. But it's a real thing. People, like when I was in rehab...
it's easier to just get regular alcohol, isn't it?
But once he gets used to that type, it's really strong or something, and it has a certain effect. He gets addicted to it. In rehab, none of the hand sanitizers they were all alcohol free because they worried about patients drinking the hand sanitizer.
Did they hide the paint and stuff too?
Nothing contained alcohol. You couldn't even have mouthwash because it contains alcohol. And when you're desperate enough for alcohol, you will do anything.
Do they serve healthy vegetables and lime juice with a pinch of salt?
There's plenty of... I didn't have lime juice, but the vegetables were abundant. Mostly carbs. I remember with the first rehab I went to, we had this Chef Bobby. He was a big roly-poly, and he practically made ravioli for 3 meals a day. Everything was this.
What's not to like?
Oh man, it was I gained 40 pounds, man. Every meal it was it was just all comfort food. It was eggs, bacon, just lunch, pasta, everything, meatloaf, mashed potato. It was good.
So this journalism is actually right.
I think it is.
You must provide frequent, tasty foods to alcoholics.
Absolutely. I think it nourishes the body, but
there you are running down Indian journalism, and meanwhile they're right on point.
Recovery in the News, and that's it. That's right. And now it's time for an impromptu This Week in Weird. UFO lands in Bolivian village and releases chupacabra-like creature.
You just found that 10 seconds.
I did. Residents of a village in Bolivia claim to have witnessed a UFO landing wherein the craft subsequently released a chupacabra-like creature into their community. The very strange incident occurred in the town of Monteagudo earlier this month when observers first spotted a puzzling halo of light appear in the sky and then descend to the ground. Quote, There was a crash, like thunder, recalled Bolivian UFO researcher Javier Ayaga, who indicated that the object appeared to be, quote, throwing fire. Things took an even weirder turn when those on the scene saw some kind of entity exit the craft.
Sounds like someone was drinking hand sanitizer.
Yeah, so what happened was I forgot the craft. According to witnesses, this interstellar interloper stood approximately 1 foot tall and
1 foot?
1 foot tall and
That's
sported.
like very small.
It had 3 fingers on each of its hands. The mysterious visitor is also said to have possessed very large eyes, yet was unable to see. Although,
how did they know?
I don't know. Although how exactly that was determined is uncertain. Upon exiting the craft, concerned residents claim the oddity proceeded to wander the streets, frightening children who were watching this all unfold. The creature, which many likened to the legendary chupacabra, eventually vanished into the night, and the craft that appeared to deliver it to Earth also disappeared.
Huh.
So that's our Week in Weird.
That's
Coast to Coast I Am.
Interesting. I have to imagine there were drugs involved here. Not just because it's Bolivia, but, it sounds like a hallucination.
Yeah, listen.
Mass hallucination.
The universe is infinite.
Or it could have been a UFO.
And listen, life out there is, scientists and the best thinkers and minds of our day know that it's a mathematical certainty that there is intelligent life in the universe.
Not if you believe in the Fermi paradox.
The Fermi paradox.
Yeah.
Is that because there's so much distance to travel?
If there's so much life in the universe,
where
we
is
would
it?
have seen it already.
My answer to that is we have stories like this. Thousands of them, not just this one.
Where's the video?
Thousands.
How
There's
come
plenty
nobody
of
has
videos.
ever taken
Not true.
a video of a UFO that hasn't been some shaky thing or something from a cockpit of an F-16 that nobody can figure out what they're looking at?
How about gun camera footage from the Navy?
Yeah, have you seen that footage?
Yes.
I don't know what I'm looking at there.
Michio Kaku.
I want to see a
even
fucking
said,
thing get out of a saucer and be like, take me to your leader.
We have our own government saying to us, we don't know what this is. And it appears to be defying the laws of physics. What more do you need to know?
Well, it could be just being a computer simulation.
Well, that too. This
right.
Week in Weird. Well, that about does
That's
it for
it, folks. You've
today.
come to another end of another episode of Recovery in the Middle Ages.
Visit us at middleagesrecovery.com and check out our new merch page. Join the discussion on our exclusive and private Facebook group. If you need to talk, don't hesitate to reach out to us on social media. Find us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Twitter, and more. Tweet us at What You Twit. Please go to Apple Podcasts or iTunes on your PC and write us a great review. 5-star reviews will be read on the air. And we will see you next time. And as we say, non proficiat perfectum.
Progress. Not perfection.
See you next time.
Good.